So if you don't know who Lil Nas X is, he's a famous musician who went viral with his hit tune Old Town Road, and around that time he became famous. He came out as gay, and that opened the doors for a plethora of different types of people to feel comfortable about themselves and just not be ashamed of who they are. And now he's got a new documentary about his life out called Lil Nas X, Long Live Montero. And it's about his first tour, I believe, and there's also a lot of conversation about his life. Now, you don't have to be a fan of his music to enjoy this documentary. It's not like it's just a concert film where they're just going through all the tracks. There are moments and glimpses of his music, and you get to see his elaborate, beautiful, grandiose dance numbers and his wardrobe, just a beautiful, immaculate choices. Now, I love documentaries. I have always loved documentaries. It's one of my favorite genres. And this documentary falls in the camp of stuff like Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work, or Bill Cunningham, New York, where they take somebody who's very famous or their work is very famous, and they just show this humanity to them. And what's interesting about documentaries and how much they've evolved throughout the years is that back in the day, they used to come off really, news footage looking, video-ish, and now you can't tell the difference. How well shot this documentary is. It can fool your brain to thinking you're watching a, scripted, well-lit, structured thing. Now, the documentary employs a lot of techniques. Of course, they have the concert footage, then they have the B-roll interview stuff, and then they have this small scene of a reenactment of when he was younger. And they all put this together, and it all jumps back and forth. And there is a framing of an interview with Montero, and he is in bed, like being interviewed, and it's just kind of this very intimate setting. I just thought it was a really interesting way to frame an interview. It's just a good documentary. I mean, it's not breaking new ground or anything like that. I mean, that's not to knock it. What's super great about him as an artist is that he's completely breaking a lot of taboos that are held specifically in the queer black community. Apparently, there is a lot of homophobia that exists in the hip hop community, and he's just completely just breaking all these stereotypes. And there are images that you see here that you rarely ever see of a man just unabashedly being himself and just not caring, really. When the film cuts back to the more interview-style stuff, we see him talk about how difficult it was to come to terms with who he was and to come out to his family, and how he's still grappling with that today. Some of the negative reviews that I've been reading about this film are that the film kind of touches on these subjects that are brought up about his family and this complex relationship he has with trying to be himself, but then also feeling awkward around his family. There's even a scene that happens in the film that's in the trailer as well, where he's joking about like what his family's going to think of him wearing a skirt. I feel like the criticism that the filmmakers didn't go hard enough or explore that deeply or ask him more questions. I don't think that's a totally fair criticism, because for one, this guy is so young, and that his life is currently being written as they were filming this. And even if they went on to ask these questions that some people are posing they should have dived deeper into, I don't think he could articulate, especially when these things are happening right now. You need some perspective and time to look back on things. Like the documentaries I mentioned, like Joan Rivers or Bill Cunningham. These are people who are a lot older, so they've had an enormous amount of time to pull from and reflect back about what they should have done, what they could have done differently. It would just be really uncomfortable if they really push that button too hard. I mean, I know it's a film, but this is somebody's life at the end of the day. And that's what I really took away from the documentary, is that this guy, in spite of all this adversity that he's facing and he fears that he might face, he still keeps going forward and trying to be himself, because that's all you can be at the end of the day, right?